Before diving into this incredible story, remember to subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every story has something to say, and you won't want to miss a single one. The city glittered under the lights of the skyscrapers, but in billionaire Alexander Whitmore's penthouse, the air was icy, despite the warmth of the crystal chandeliers. Alexander, a powerful businessman, elegant in his tailored black suit, sat at the table, a glass of red wine in his hand. Beside him, his wife, Victoria Whitmore, radiant in a red silk dress, smiled at him with a mysterious glint. The table was set with exquisite luxury, gleaming silverware, fine china, sparkling cutlery, and a delicately prepared main course, still steaming hot. Everything seemed perfect, like a carefully orchestrated painting. But behind the smiles and the opulence, an unseen danger was brewing. Suddenly, the calm was broken by a noise on the balcony. A young boy, dirty and emaciated, appeared, his eyes wide and filled with panic. His clothes were in tatters, and his face bore the marks of life on the streets. Yet his gaze was determined, almost supernatural. "Don't eat that," he shouted, his voice trembling but firm. "Your wife has poisoned it." Alexander frowned, a mixture of surprise and contempt in his eyes. He burst into a dry laugh, thinking it was some street kid's joke, but Tyler, the boy, didn't move. His eyes shone with absolute conviction. Victoria, for her part, offered a frosty smile, and a slight trembling of her fingers betrayed her nervousness. No one in the room yet knew that this young boy had just changed a destiny, and that he was about to save a life everyone thought was secure. Tyler clenched his fists, staring at Alexander. "I'm telling you, you have to believe me. If you eat this dish, you'll die." At that precise moment, Alexander felt a shiver run down his spine. Instinct whispered to him that it wasn't a lie. And he understood that, sometimes, the truth came from the most unexpected places. The boy, Tyler Mason, was breathing heavily on the balcony, his face covered in dust and small scratches. His eyes, however, were bright and determined. He wasn't there to beg or play. He was there to save a life. "Listen to me, Mr. Whitmore," he shouted again, his hands trembling but firm. "Your wife, she wants to kill you." Alexander Whitmore stood up from his chair, raising an eyebrow. His usually impassive features tightened. "And why should I believe you, kid?" he asked, his deep voice echoing in the living room. Tyler took a step forward, sliding on the gleaming parquet floor. "Because I saw her. I saw everything. She put poison in your food. If you eat it, you'll—" His voice broke slightly. "You'll die." Alexander watched the woman beside him, Victoria Whitmore, who continued to smile with an icy elegance. But he noticed something else, a slight trembling of her hands, a look that tried to hide her nervousness. Instinct suddenly struck him. What if the boy was telling the truth? He took a deep breath and tried to calm his mind. "Show me what you know. No lies, no drama. Just the truth." Tyler, visibly relieved that Alexander was starting to take him seriously, rushed to the adjoining kitchen. "Come on. I'll show you where she hid the poison." The silence in the room was heavy. Victoria frowned, as if she sensed her plan had just been compromised. Alexander, now on his guard, followed the boy into the kitchen, each step echoing on the immaculate tiles. Tyler stopped in front of a cupboard, his hands trembling. He opened the door, revealing a small black bottle with a nearly faded label, cyanide. Alexander felt his heart sink. The gravity of the situation suddenly dawned on him. Victoria entered the kitchen behind them, her smile freezing. "What the?" she stammered, but Alexander didn't give her a chance to finish. His gaze was now filled with suspicion and anger. Tyler, standing before the billionaire, stared straight into Victoria's eyes. "We know what you did. You thought no one would find out. But me. I'm here now." Alexander felt a mixture of disbelief and relief. A street boy, poor and invisible to the world, had just saved his life. And in that silent moment, he understood that nothing would ever be the same again. Alexander Whitmore remained motionless, the vial of poison still in Tyler's hands. His mind raced. He never would have imagined that Victoria, his elegant and charming wife, could plan something so heinous. Victoria, for her part, regained her composure almost immediately, her icy smile never leaving her face. "Alexander, what are you doing?" she said in a honeyed voice, feigning innocence. Alexander stared at her, his piercing eyes leaving no room for doubt. "Don't lie, Victoria. I know what you tried to do." The silence in the penthouse was heavy, almost suffocating. The crystal chandeliers seemed to cast a colder light than ever, reflecting the anguish in the billionaire's eyes. Tyler, sensing Alexander's hesitation, stepped forward again. "See? I told you. If you had eaten that dish." His voice broke with emotion. "You would have died." Victoria took a step forward, her face tense, trying to mask her nervousness behind a majestic posture. "Alexander, it's ridiculous. Who could believe these stories about street children?" But Alexander, now suspicious and angry, was no longer fooled. "I'm starting to believe you're capable of anything for your money. And believe me, Victoria, I'm not naive." A chill ran through the room as paranoia took hold. Every movement, every word, every breath seemed exaggerated, as if time itself were holding its breath. Alexander knew he had to act quickly. The trust he once had in his wife was shattered, replaced by intense vigilance. Tyler looked at Alexander with a mixture of fear and courage. "You have to stay calm, but you also have to do something. She'll stop at nothing." Alexander nodded, his thoughts racing. He had to protect his life, but he also had to avoid alerting Victoria to his suspicions, lest she betray herself. He took a deep breath and decided to play a dangerous game, feigning ignorance while preparing his counterattack. Sensing that her plan was beginning to unravel, Victoria let out a slight tremor. Her gaze, which had always been composed and cold, now betrayed her fear. She realized that Tyler was no ordinary child, and that Alexander was no longer the naive man she thought she was manipulating. The suspense was palpable. The cat-and-mouse game had barely begun, and Alexander knew every second counted. Tyler, standing beside him, seemed to be his only true ally in a world where betrayal came from the person he loved most. Alexander Whitmore stood facing Victoria, the vial of poison still clutched in Tyler's hand. The room seemed to hold its breath, as if time had stood still to witness the imminent downfall of the woman who had dared to betray her husband. Victoria attempted a cold smile, but her eyes betrayed panic. "Alexander, you can't." She began, but her voice trembled slightly. Tyler, his fists clenched, did not back down. "We know everything, Ms. Whitmore. If you try anything again, Alexander will not survive." Alexander, with an almost supernatural calm, stepped towards his wife. "Why, Victoria? Why would you have done this? Everything we built, only to destroy it?" Victoria stepped back, feeling her control over the situation slipping through her fingers. I just wanted you to notice me, to give me what I deserve." She stammered, but her words rang false. Alexander saw right through her. The suspense intensified when Victoria made a sudden movement towards the kitchen, as if to grab something. Tyler reacted immediately, placing himself between them. "Don't move," he shouted, his voice full of determination. Alexander grabbed Victoria's hand forcefully and pulled her back. "It's over, Victoria. It's all over." At that moment, Victoria's nervousness turned into pure anger. "You can't do this to me. You can't take away everything I've planned," she yelled, her words echoing against the luxurious walls of the penthouse. Tyler, despite his young age, remained fearless. "No one will let you kill someone for your money. Never." Alexander felt a mixture of gratitude and admiration for the boy. Without Tyler, he might never have discovered the imminent danger. He knew now that he had to act quickly to protect his life and put an end to this betrayal. Victoria, seeing that she had lost all control, sensed the imminent collapse of her plan. Her eyes, once full of calculation and coldness, now reflected fear. She knew it was all over. Alexander, now firm and resolute, addressed Tyler, "Thank you. You just saved my life." Tyler lowered his gaze, a mixture of pride and modesty in his eyes. I just wanted someone to listen to me, and for you to be safe." The confrontation left the penthouse heavy with silence, but for Alexander, one thing was clear: loyalty and courage sometimes come from the most unexpected places, and Tyler had just proven that even a street kid could change the destiny of a billionaire. The next morning, the whole city was already talking about Victoria Whitmore's arrest. The media had spread the news: a billionaire's wife had tried to poison her husband to inherit his entire fortune. Alexander Whitmore, though shocked and deeply betrayed, had found inner peace thanks to the unexpected courage of a street urchin. Tyler Mason sat in Alexander's luxurious office, a little intimidated by the opulence surrounding him, but his eyes shone with pride. Alexander, seated behind his desk, looked at him gratefully. "Tyler, I don't know how to thank you. You saved my life last night." The boy shrugged, shy but proud. I do what I can. I just want people to listen to those who are ignored." Alexander smiled. "So from today on, you're not just a street kid anymore. I want you to have a home, an education, and someone to protect you." Tyler felt a shiver of happiness run down his spine. For the first time in a long time, he felt safe, recognized, and valued. The city's invisible child had just found a home and a mentor who believed in him. Meanwhile, Victoria Whitmore, now behind bars, had to face the consequences of her actions. Power and money could no longer protect her. Her arrogance and cruelty had been swept away by the loyalty and courage of a boy no one ever saw. Alexander looked at Tyler and said softly, "Sometimes, those the world ignores are the only ones who speak the truth. And you, Tyler, had the courage to do it. Never forget that." Tyler smiled, a mixture of relief and pride in his eyes. He knew his life had just changed forever. The street kid had become a symbol of courage and justice in a city where power and money seemed to control everything. And in this penthouse, once a scene of betrayal, a new chapter began, where loyalty and courage had finally triumphed. Tyler was no longer just a witness to destiny, he was an actor capable of changing it.